Next on Worcester News Tonight, a shelter in place at Quabbin Regional Middle High School this morning, following the discovery of a loaded gun clip. Plus, a Worcester City Councilor asking to put a new rule surrounding the sale of flavored tobacco on hold. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. We begin tonight in Oxford, where 9 adults and 5 children are displaced after a fire broke out in an apartment building on Wells Street. According to the Oxford Fire Department, there was a fire on the front porch of this 4-unit apartment building. As they were responding, they were updated. The fire had quickly spread to the 2nd floor and up into the attic. Oxford's Deputy Fire Chief John Belanger says there is extensive damage.
Damage is into the throughout the first unit and pretty extensive in the attic over the 2nd unit. The other 2 units, the 3rd unit has a little bit of water damage and the 4th unit is unharmed at this point.
Deputy Chief Belanger says the Red Cross has been contacted and the building's owner is working to help the families find housing. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. One Worcester City Councilor is asking the council to put a new rule about the sale of flavored tobacco on hold. Last month, the city's Board of Health unanimously voted to restrict the sale of flavored tobacco products to adult-only establishments. City Councilor Bergman says while he supports the move, he's not sure it will stop people under 21 from buying or using the products.
It could be purchased online. It could be purchased in other communities. Worcester's one of the communities, but there are others that don't prohibit it. So if you're not going to ban it statewide, it makes sense to me to find ways to regulate it in Worcester, short of making convenience stores owners suffer.
Bergman filed an order for Tuesday's City Council meeting. He wants public health officials to meet with representatives of the New England Convenience Store and Energy Marketers Association to discuss alternatives. A landmark ruling from the Supreme Court could lead many states to legalize sports betting. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of giving states the power to say yes or no to legalize sports gambling. The case has been going through the legal system for several years after some states sued, saying Nevada shouldn't be the only one to profit. It's unclear what action Massachusetts will take, but some who have been gambling for years say they don't support it.
It's all right in Vegas because people go to Vegas, they know what they're there for, and they're going to take their beating, and they're going to come home. You're gambling in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Florida, wherever. You're opening yourself up to a big, big mess. And I'm 73. I've been gambling since I was 13. And I can tell you something. It's worse than any disease you can ever get. And I'd hate to see another 13-year-old kid starting because they're not going to stop.
Whatever the Commonwealth decides, any proposals still need to go through the legislature and Gaming Commission. Police in Barrie investigating after a loaded gun clip is found on the grounds of Quabbin Regional Middle High School. It was a nerve-wracking couple of hours for some parents, but the school says students and teachers handled it well. Our Chandler Walsh has the story.
Police on scene in Barrie as Quabbin Regional Middle High School shelters in place. The response after a loaded gun clip was found on school grounds.
It can happen anywhere. I mean, that's the reality today. Stuff happens all over the place.
A maintenance worker found the clip in a softball field dugout. Police say the magazine belonged to a handgun carrying 7 or 8 rounds. The school sheltered in place for about 3 hours while local and state police did a full sweep of the school.
We got 3 bomb disposal canines in, so they were able to handle the lockers, they were able to handle the building, the perimeter, and then the manpower, the officers teaming up with faculty were able to handle the classrooms.
No weapons were found inside or outside the building. The administration is thankful for a smooth and cautious response.
For lack of a better thing to say, cooler heads prevailed. The kids were terrific. Our faculty was terrific. All the police departments were terrific.
High school principal Greg Devine says students were calm and cooperative. Some say they weren't nervous and felt safe while sheltering.
They actually came in the classes with the cop and searched like everybody's bags, like everybody's, middle and high school, and didn't find anything.
Quabbin resumed a normal school day when the shelter in place was lifted. Parents say it's a nerve-wracking situation.
We have to let them continue on with their lives and go back to school and go to school every day, but as a parent, I bite my nails constantly.
Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
A man on the state's list of most wanted fugitives is now under arrest. Police say 42-year-old Daniel Escalante sexually assaulted several children in and around Marlboro. During their investigation, police found out Escalante has moved to Nevada and was living under an alias. He was arrested in Reno. Prosecutors in Massachusetts are now working to bring Escalante back to the state to face charges. It's been an issue for years. Foul balls slamming into homes next to the Vernon Hill Park. Neighbors say tree removal near the baseball field and netting which doesn't work are partly to blame. Our Rosalind Flaherty has more.
John Pasovich pulls out a bag of baseballs. He's found them all over his property near the Vernon Hill baseball field, many causing damage.
House has been hit, windows have been broke, car.
Pasovich says foul balls have been a problem since 2010 when the city moved home plate on the ball field. He says his neighbors have also suffered damages despite netting being put up by the city.
The nets don't work. They had trees, they cut them down, but the trees didn't work anyways.
The issue will be discussed at the city council meeting Tuesday. Nick D'Andrea is the secretary of the East Side Babe Ruth League who plays on the field. He sympathizes with the residents and says it is a tough place to have a ball field. But he says it's not up to the league to get involved with the decision making.
I understand the frustration that the residents have. It's an issue between the residents and the city. You know, we are just asking to use the ballpark. We have permits.
D'Andrea says it's hard for them to play anywhere else in the city, and no one is trying to hit foul balls at the houses. He supports whatever decision is made, but doesn't want the kids to suffer.
I don't want to be a negative light in a neighborhood. I just don't want the kids to not have a place to play.
Pasovich is thinking about taking legal action and wants something to get done soon so no one gets hurt.
I've got grandchildren. I'm afraid one of them is going to get hit with a ball.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
Serving up to 600 people a day with only one vehicle to carry the food can be a large task. Monday, it all changed for St. John's Food for the Poor program when Fallon Health donated a new van. One of their old vehicles was totaled in a crash, leaving the pantry with only one van. Director Bill Riley says they still managed to get all the food they needed, but were making multiple trips a day.
It was tough some days, and then we decided to rent the van to cover the last couple of months because we really need it. I mean, Stop and Shop is such a big contributor to St. John's. We couldn't shortcut them.
Fallon Health says when they heard about the crash, they knew they needed to help.
Fit perfectly with our commitment to this community, as well as our focus on addressing food insecurity, which is something that Fallon Health has been focused on for many, many years. So it fit perfectly, and so we saw it as an opportunity to give back to a community that's been so good to us.
The new 2017 van will be used daily to pick up food from local Stop and Shops. It's been almost a year since a Southbridge nurse was stabbed on the job. Harrington Hospital has since added safety measures, so has UMass Memorial Medical Center, and they're hoping more will follow suit. Our Brittany Schaefer has the story.
Metal detectors at the emergency department are one of many safety enhancements Harrington Hospital has made since a nurse was stabbed there last June.
That day was certainly difficult for our employees, for the community. I'd say within a couple of weeks of the event last summer, we had these metal detectors in our ER entrances.
The hospital has also increased its safety staff, installed new panic buttons, and increased card access security zones. Director of Marketing Blaine Schneer says they make a big difference.
The assailant actually walked in with a kitchen knife that was hidden in his shorts. So had these metal detectors been in place, that's likely something that would have been triggered.
Nurse Elise Wilson was stabbed 11 times and was flown to UMass Memorial Medical Center in Worcester in critical condition. Kendra Szymanski works in the trauma center and says it was a life-changing day in the department.
It shook every nurse in this department to the core. That's one of our own. And we had been talking a lot about general safety in the department, and this just really brought everything to the forefront.
UMass Memorial is the only other hospital in the state who have installed metal detectors since the attack. Szymanski says extra security is needed in ERs.
Our doors can never be closed. You can lock all other doors on the campus, but ours you can never lock. But I have to tell you, I think to a person, the staff will tell you that that's something physically they can see, and it makes them feel safer.
Hopefully more hospitals are having these discussions, and if it's the right decision for them, then it's certainly something that we would encourage based on what we've been through.
The Massachusetts Nurses Association says they are optimistic about Elise's law, which requires healthcare facilities to have an updated violence prevention plan. The bill passed through the House and the Senate. Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.